Yo, what's going on, guys? Trey back again here to bring you another video. This one's going to be a review for The Walking Dead Season 2, Episode 11, Judge, Jury, and Executioner. Big time spoilers. If you haven't seen the episode, get out of here. Get the hell out of here, man. No, they killed Dale. No. So, yeah, you kind of knew it. Like I said, it follows the formula. Anytime a character, we spend a lot of time with the character, we get to see them quite a bit in an episode or in a couple episodes. You kind of know that the ending may be coming soon for them. Now, here's what's interesting to me is that the actor who plays Dale is good friends with Frank Darabont, who was the director for The Walking Dead Season 1 and first half of Season 2. So, possibly maybe the actor didn't want to, there's rumors, I've heard this before, that the actor, I forget his name, but who's playing Dale, refused to be in the show after they fired Frank Darabont. And kind of just like the episode where he's the only one arguing and everybody else is just like, oh, well, going to go along with it. He was the only one who stood up and was, no, don't fire Frank. It was his idea to do the show, to do the whole thing. And it's kind of funny how it played out that you have the group arguing over a decision. And Dale's the only one really who's standing up and doing something or saying something. And then we get to see Dale's character die. So, yeah, as far as I know, the actor who played Dale was chosen by Frank Darabont, is friends with Frank Darabont, has been in some of his previous movies or been involved, and was brought on by Frank Darabont. So after Frank Darabont was fired, basically, he said, I don't want to be in the show anymore. So maybe they wrote it in to kill him. Now, I don't know if that's for sure. We probably won't ever really know because most of these things are kept under wraps. They don't like to, release out there to the public exactly what's going on with that. So, don't know for sure, but there's a good chance that that's exactly what happened. Now, it was weird to see because Dale in the comic book lasted a really, really long time. He lasted until episode, I think it was in the 60s, episode 60 something, and his death was more gruesome in the comic book. He got attacked by a group of basically guys that were stalking the group, and he was already bitten by a walker, and he was basically going out to die on his own. He didn't want to tell anybody, and the group basically stalked him down, captured him, and then was was eating him, and it was really dark, really dark. It was called Fear of the Hunters, the trade paperback, and it was really dark. But yeah, definitely unexpected to see him. Die like that. There was some jerk face. If you're watching this video, jerk face, I'm talking to you, who wrote this in the comments. So I had to delete that comment because anybody who saw that, you just ruined the episode for. So please, guys, anybody who has a spoiler or inside information on the show, I don't want to know. You know what I mean? Don't personal message me. Don't write in the comments so that other viewers see spoilers like that. Not everybody wants to know what's going to happen in the next few episodes. I wasn't sure if he was telling the truth or if he was full of it, but obviously he was right. He said that this happened to Dale. And, the death was kind of I don't know. To me, it was a little bit stupid. The walker was skinny. He couldn't even remove his legs from that spot that he was stuck in earlier. And he somehow was able to use his hands with enough force to scratch and then rip open his skin. I don't know. I mean, against someone who's fighting back, I don't really see that as being realistic. But that actor, I'm pretty sure, wanted off the show once Frank Darabont got fired, so they wrote it in to kill him, basically. So definitely the show's going to go down an entirely different direction now that there's no Dale, because in the comic book, after this part, Dale has some really good moments where he makes some good decisions for the group, and does some things later on at the prison that they're staying at in the comic book. You can read the comic book if you want to see. But anyway, he's a really prominent character in the comic book, and obviously the fact that he's dead already, kind of shows he's not really going to be prominent in the TV show. I mean, his role is done, basically, and, we could see the show go on for 7, 8, 9, 10 seasons. So, Dale will just be a small character in the show. I like this role better in the comic book. It's unfortunate, but these types of things happen. I was talking about it in my video, I think last week. I was saying that, if an actor doesn't want to be in the show anymore, it's real easy. They just kill him. They just kill the character. That's it. So, I think that's what they're going to do. And from now on, if any actors feel like dropping out and say, I'm not coming back next season, okay, we'll just write that in, and that's it. He's dead. So, aside from the unfortunate Dale death sequence, and that I just didn't really like too much. I thought it was, I don't know, he should have been bitten. He should have been, it was cool, though, that Daryl kind of, like took the gun and shot Dale. So that was a good scene. This was a great episode. Anyway, now let's backtrack to the beginning of the episode. Obviously, wanted to talk about that first, and then we'll get into the beginning, from the beginning on. So obviously, we find out through Daryl's badassery and his Batman interrogation scene. Where are they? Basically, learning that the group has 30 guys essentially, or 30 people essentially, and they have automatics. So they have probably a pretty good sized weaponry with them. Who knows what they have? I mean, maybe grenades, maybe. I mean, who knows what they've got? Probably a lot of weapons, quite a bit of weaponry. And he talks about a situation where the group found some other people, and they found a guy with 2 daughters, and they raped his daughters and left him alive after, and that kind of stuff. And I was like, ooh. And there's a character in the comic book. His name is Abraham. He gets introduced way later on, and that's the same storyline. Basically, is what happens to him. I think they rape. Another group rapes his daughters, maybe wife, and I don't know. I think they kill them afterwards, but they don't kill him. They let him live. So maybe that storyline is talking about Abraham. We could be seeing maybe it's an entirely different character altogether, and it's only written in to sort of give us an idea of what kind of people he's with. So still very possible that Merle could be the leader of that group, or at least heavy into the group, and one of the front runners. So that was an interesting scene. Randall obviously, being kind of like tortured a little bit, and having a lot of problems throughout this this episode for sure, and begging for his life and that kind of stuff. So then they talk a little bit about, you get to see Rick mentioning maybe they'll move into the barn, which is something I think would be pretty cool. I think I would like to see that. Then we get to see some cool Carl scenes. So a little bit more attention on Carl. Carl actually had quite a big part in this episode. And that's one thing throughout the TV show that I haven't seen a lot. Carl has not had a lot of, scenes. And it's nice to see him getting some scenes, although they're written terribly. I hate the direction they're going with Carl. Like Shane says, please stop trying to, get yourself killed, because he just keeps doing stupid things, and that spoke volumes. I mean, after we see him, sneak in the barn, I'm not sure if he was going to shoot Randall or not, which is sort of in character because he does do it in the comic book later on too. Just recently, in an episode or issue, he was talking to a guy they had kept prisoner. It was very, very similar to this storyline, and Carl was talking to him and this kind of stuff, and then later on, we get to see him with a confrontation with the Walker. And he's one of those type of kids that, those type of kids that if they see something dangerous, like cars and stuff, they'll sit there like real close, get as close as they can and throw rocks and stuff. Like, you remember kids on the street that would throw rocks at cars and run away and stuff like that? I thought that was so stupid. And then furthermore, he doesn't tell anybody at the camp that he saw a Walker at all. Like, he doesn't tell anybody. And then it just so happens that Walker is the one that kills Dale. Carl is becoming such a hardened badass, but this episode, just the way he was written in this episode and the direction they took his character, I never got the sense in the comic that Carl was a dumbass. You know what I'm saying? I never got the sense. I knew he was a badass. I didn't think he was a dumbass. Like, the decisions he's making are really, really stupid, even for a kid. Yeah, he's a kid. But hey, I don't need, like once your parents tell you something's dangerous, you don't need them to tell you, hey, don't walk up to it, grab rocks and chuck them at it. It's not a good idea. It's just one of those things. Like, if this is dangerous, stay away from it. As a kid, only if you're a kid that doesn't have enough attention from your dad and that kind of stuff, are you going to misbehave and do it anyway. I just thought that was really stupid. In their kind of world where people are dying all over, you think you'd be a little bit more careful. So I'm sorry, I got to say, really bad writing on that part. Well, I think it would have been okay if he walked up, he saw the Walker, and then he left, and then he didn't tell anybody. But the whole walking up to it and chucking rocks at it and stuff like that, that was stupid. I mean, like, fucking really stupid. So I didn't like that at all, that part with Carl and the Walker. I think it's interesting that Walker is the same one that ended up killing Dale. That was kind of cool, but I just don't know. I don't see. I didn't like the scene where Carl was trying to. I was like, what the hell? So Carl's an idiot now? Is that what this is? Carl's stupid? Is that what you're trying to tell us? Because it looks like he's stupid. I know he's a kid. But that's not an excuse for being an idiot. I don't care how old he is or whatever. When I was 5 years old, if my parents told me this thing can kill you, be careful, I wouldn't even touch it. I wouldn't even go near it. That's the type of person I am, and I was that way my whole life. So I know some people are not like that, and they do things like that. But I just think, like, up top, like I don't care if you're a kid, be that stupid. That was just really dumb to see. I don't think of Carl as a stupid kid. I think of him as a hardened kid and a kid that's gotten used to living and assimilated in this kind of world better. That was an interesting scene where he basically, Carl's an atheist, essentially. Carol, he says, like, he says to her, like, it's a stupid lie. And she's talking about heaven. And he's really cold and that kind of stuff. So, he's very pragmatic. He's a lot like Shane. Maybe he spent too much time with Shane. But then again, if he did, then he probably would have listened to Shane and stopped trying to get himself killed. So bad writing on Carl. Whoever wrote that, with Carl, bad stuff. I didn't care for that at all. But anyway, moving on from that. So what else we get to see? A lot of good character development in this episode. We got to see a nice scene between Herschel and Glenn, which was very cool, where he gives them the, was it like a stopwatch or a pocket watch, that kind of thing. That was really touching, really nice scene between the two of them, and very well acted on Herschel's actor's part. I like that scene a lot. That was really nice. And Rick, obviously, where he's pointing the gun at Randall about to shoot him, and then Carl walks in and he goes, "Do it, Dad." That was like, I don't know, man. That was so weird. I don't even know what to say about that. And it screws up Rick's mojo completely, and he can't do it afterwards because obviously he can't do it in front of his son. How bad is he going to screw his son up? But, how could they let Carl just roam over there? Like this episode, Lori's not doing her job. She's letting Carl go where the hell he wants to go. You want to go play in the forest and steal a gun? Go ahead. You want to go, throw rocks at a zombie? Oh, no problem. Go ahead. Come back later. Just don't get yourself in any trouble. Like what is that? Keep an eye on that damn kid with all the ridiculousness he's doing. 3 times he snuck away this episode. He went in the barn to see Randall. He started throwing rocks at the walker. And then again, later on, when they were going to execute him, nobody paid attention to where Carl is. Anyone seen Carl? There's an execution going on. Oh, no. I don't know where he is. I don't know. I didn't get that. Lori's so useless, not doing her job. She's, you guys know how I feel about Lori. Anyway, that's that. So, weird scene. Very, very strange. I think now, I hope Randall I hope the group just kills Randall. I mean, I'm sorry. After what's happened with Dale and that kind of stuff, they just need to do it, get over with, and move on with the storyline. I don't want to see Randall around much longer anyway. Because the whole thing with Dale and with what he's arguing with the humane approach to it is basically that, we have a choice in the situation. And realistically, that's a nice idealistic way to look at it. But realistically, they do not have a choice in the situation. They really don't. Because what are the options? Let's go through them right here real quickly. So, A, you kill the kid. B, you let the kid go. Or C, you keep the kid with the group. Those are your 3 choices. There's nothing else, okay? A, you kill the kid. Just kill him and it'll be over with. B, if you let the kid go, he's obviously going to go back to his other group. He said many times he's not going to be able to make it on his own. So he's obviously going to go back to that group and try to find them. And then you're screwed. Or C, you keep him with a group. And you can't do that because, he's dangerous, first of all. Daryl's beat his ass. Shane shot at him twice. He could try to escape and run away. He could kill somebody. He's just, you can't really do that. And you're going to have to be feeding him. And, can you trust him with weapons to fight off zombies? Can you trust him with, yard equipment to be helping out Herschel? I mean, Herschel doesn't want him on his farm. So you don't really have a choice. I understand Dale's perspective that, there has to be another way. Well, we just went through the three options. Those are the only 3 options. There's nothing else. There's no other way to go. You can't drive him further out because if you do that, you're going to put your people at jeopardy, and you're not doing that because that's stupid. So, even though Dale says, we have a choice, you don't really have a choice. It's kind of like when you wake up, let's say you're in $10,000 debt and you've got a leased car and you got a mortgage payment you got to pay every month, and you wake up in the morning before work. Do you really have a choice to go to work? Do you really? I mean, yeah, obviously you could choose not to go to work, but you'd be screwing over your whole life. I mean, you kind of have to. You don't really have a choice. So it's that type of situation where, maybe if you're an idealist, you wish you had a choice and maybe we could try this. You don't really have a choice. You pretty much have to. And, a lot of characters trying to distance themselves, away from the situation and that kind of stuff. But, you really, really don't have a choice. You have to do it. So, hopefully we'll see Shane or Daryl or Rick do that next episode. I just want them to blow past that. One thing about the season is they've kind of been leaving these lingering, things on for a little bit too long. I think the Sophia thing was about the same thing. They let it go a little too long, if you see what I'm saying. I think they should have wrapped it up a little bit sooner. And they've been doing that all along. How many episodes is Randall going to be in? I mean, come on. Get rid of this guy. Just get rid of him, man. I don't want to see him anymore. So that's obvious that the right choice is to put him down. And what was Dale doing out there anyway? I have no idea. Maybe he committed suicide. You want to say he committed suicide? I mean, I guess you could say that he committed suicide. I mean, he kind of like, well, did he really? I mean, I don't know. Like, what was he doing out there, first of all? Was he committing suicide? It didn't really look like it because he pulled out his gun. So, I don't really know what they were doing with that. It wasn't clear to me. Is he committing suicide? Not really, because he pulled out his gun. And he did kind of fight back as maybe as just like as a defense mechanism, but he wasn't clearly, throwing away his gun and saying, okay, bite me, whatever, or take his gun and shoot him in the head. So he didn't really commit suicide, but what was he doing out there? So, I don't really know with that. And the implications of Carl feeling guilty for not telling the group, because it is his fault, remember. He didn't tell anybody in the group that he saw this walker over there so that Daryl could just go down and have some fun with it and kill it. So it is Carl's fault. Again, Carl just, in this episode, just written really badly. I know he's a kid, not an excuse. He's a much different character in the show than he is in the comic book, that's for sure. Because in the comic book, he is smart, he is wise, he makes good decisions. He doesn't do stupid things like that very often. Recently he has, but for the first 90 issues, he never did anything stupid like that. So, I don't know, man. I guess the Carl on the TV show and the comic book, completely different character. So that's that. Some great acting by the actor who plays Dale. I don't know his name, but I'll have to look it up after. But some very, very good acting. I thought that he sold his performance. This episode was really good. Yeah, so that was cool. Carol's suicidal. I mean, it obviously looks like she's suicidal. And Andrea, I didn't know Andrea was a civil rights lawyer. That's interesting to hear. So that's cool. Lori, nothing. She's still a bitch. Nothing changes there. Carl, yeah, just, I've talked enough about that. You guys got my idea of that. Daryl, oh yeah, Daryl had some really badass moments this episode, saying bye, brother, that kind of stuff. A lot of us thought that he was going to be saying that to Merle. Like I did a thing talking about that I imagined he was going to say that to Merle, but, obviously, he was referring to Dale as brother. So, wow, man, very, very crazy stuff. Glenn and Herschel had a good moment. That's pretty much it. Some great thought-provoking discussion in this episode about Dale and humanity and that kind of stuff and what to do. But like I said again, like Dale, being an idealist, pretending like they have a choice, wanting to hold on to his humanity, and they really don't have a choice. Was he committing suicide at the end? I didn't really get that feel that that's what he was doing. I mean, I don't know. The whole scene. I'll have to watch it again because it just didn't, to me. I don't really know, what to make of that last scene because it didn't seem like he was committing suicide. But is that like what else was he doing out there? Was that what he was doing? I mean, maybe he was confused. I don't really know where they were going with that. It wasn't clear one way or another. I guess you could say he was kind of committing suicide. It looks like, pretty much. So, and finally, at least we get to see some good Carl moments in the show. Even though, like I said, some of them were written very badly and just made him seem really stupid. It probably would have been better if he told them that there was a walker there and, or maybe if he just saw the walker and left and didn't want to get in trouble so didn't say anything. But the whole throwing the rocks was really dumb. Overall, I'm going to give this episode a 9 out of 10 because obviously it was very eventful. We saw a lot of things occur in the episode. Dale's last episode and the character of Dale dying, definitely thins out the roster of the group quite a bit. I liked having Dale around in the series. I thought he was interesting to have the banter between him and Shane back and forth, and them not seeing eye to eye, having him kind of as like the wise old kind of like the father of the group or the grandpa of the group type thing was kind of cool to have. Very mind blowing. Let me know what you guys thought about the Dale death and. It was very sudden. It kind of just came out of nowhere. I mean, he had a lot of scenes, but then he just, you see the scene where he's walking out, and the next thing you know, it's like, shit, man. It's just crazy stuff. I just hope they don't kill Shane in the next couple episodes because that's what it looks like they might be going to. We'll see what happens. I don't know one way or another if they're going to, but definitely the group is thinning out quite a bit because, I mean, you look at it, Carol's suicidal, Dale's dead, and a lot of people have predicted that Shane's going to die. So, I mean, like, I guess we'll see how it goes. I really hope Shane doesn't die, but I guess we'll see what happens. A lot of it seems like it might have to do with Frank Darabont saying bye-bye. In my opinion, anyway, I think that's what's going on because I think that they were planning on having Dale's character around for a long time because I think he's very interesting to have in the group. Having someone who is intelligent and enjoys philosophy and even speaks philosophically with no, but it changes us. This kind of stuff. That psychologically that's interesting, and it brings up a lot of cool questions about what's right and wrong, what they should do, this kind of stuff. And yeah, it's kind of a shame that they killed his character off so early. I assume next season we're going to see some new people join the group. I just assume that's what's going to happen because, I mean, as we're losing characters, we have to get more characters in the show to replace them, probably. So as long as they don't kill Shane or Daryl or Rick, I'm cool. Yeah, everybody else is disposable. It doesn't matter. Well, Carl too. I think they should keep Carl around too because he's kind of cool. Anyway, that's it for me, guys. This episode gets a 9 out of 10. This is Trev saying peace and bye-bye.